Is it okay for us to get started?
You're live.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Speedy. I am part of the Juvenile Law Center, Youth Fostering Change. This year is my third year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dwayne Price. I'm with JLC's Youth Fostering Change program. This is my second year, and I'm glad to be here today.
Hi, I'm Ishale. This is my third year with Juveniles for Justice. And yeah, like he said, I'm glad to be here speaking to you all.
Hi, I'm Mark Williams, part of YFC. This is my third year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marcia Hopkins. I'm one of the program managers here at Juvenile Law Center. Thank you guys for being here again.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cathy Moffa. I'm also program manager at Juvenile Law Center.
So again, thank you guys for joining us for this session. I'm going to briefly talk about our program at Juvenile Law Center. So at Juvenile Law Center, we have our youth advocacy program, and underneath our program, we have two projects, Juveniles for Justice and Youth Fostering Change, which is young people or young leaders who have experience in both of these systems who are working to push for different reforms. And each year they create an annual project to create specific changes in both of these systems. And so this year they decided to create their roadmap to reform series and developed two reports and some tools for their project this year around access to mental health for youth and child welfare and mass incarceration of young people in the United States. So thank you guys again. It's a little bit about our program. Speedy, do you want to talk a little bit about this session today before we get started?
Yes, today we'll actually be talking about our roadmap, which have some of our personal experiences when it comes to the courthouse and the judicial system. We will mostly be talking about our personal stories and things that might have happened and how that situation could have resolved for each one of us. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
You're good. I got you, Speedy.
The purpose of this tool is the roadmap is a strength-based approach to problem solving that is led by youth in their own cases. It is meant to serve as an unbiased review of the needs and resources between the youth and their caseworker. The main purpose of this roadmap tool is to provide youth with a space to lead discussion on mental health and wellness resources, along with community-based resources that they and their family may need. So to give an example, oops, sorry, I have to zoom in a little bit. We're gonna use,
So sorry, Speedy. I actually went too fast. I am exiting out. Go. I'm so sorry.
Threw me off there. You gonna go back?
Do you want me to go back to the first slide, or you want to go to next to the directions for young people?
Okay, so I guess the directions for young people. So for the youth, I want you guys to think about events in your life, specifically around your experiences in care. And if you feel comfortable, share what you feel comfortable with. And if you do feel comfortable enough, please try to talk to us also about things that happened before you enter care. Maybe talk about various situations that you've been through and how it could have helped. I'm sorry, guys.
Take your time. Let me know when you want me to move to the example, Speedy.
Okay, I think we'll move to the examples. I apologize in advance, everyone. My anxiety is shooting through the roof a little bit.
ask for help. Let me know if you want help.
Okay. So the example we're going to use is, as you can see on the screen, I don't know if can they see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, as you guys can see on the screen, we're going to go off like someone named Jordan. A DHS case was open regarding their family. After an investigation, Jordan and their two siblings were removed from their house and were placed in the same group home. Now, during this time, additional resources could have been provided, such as therapy, and other mental health. Trying to find the word here. Other mental health programs. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna pass it on. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Speedy. I think you did a good job. And just to elevate what Speedy said, so this in the actual report, we have examples for people to take a look at how to fill this out. So Speedy was reviewing this example. And I think Ashley is going to do just briefly a sample case example for J4J.
Okay. So this person is Carolyn.
Cameron.
Oh, all right. Okay, so I stole my friend's brother's car because I needed to take the SATs and the testing location was far from my house. They reported, do I read it?
Yep, you're good. Go ahead, Ash.
Okay. They reported the car stolen right away. I made it to the test site and started taking the SATs. Police came in while I was taking the test and arrested me. Once the family found out it was me that took the car, they could have spoken to me and dropped charges. The police officer could have spoken to me about the situation instead of arresting me after I finished taking the SATs.
Thanks, Ash.
Yeah.
Again, these are just case examples that we have in their report to explain to people and give young people and professionals just an example of how to fill this out with youth. So these are fictitious, fake examples. They are not tied to any of our young people's stories.
Yes.
Dwayne.
So, yeah, I'm going right now. Thank you, Speedy. Thank you, Ms. Marcia. Right now, what I'm getting ready to read, hello, everyone, sorry. Right now, what I'm getting ready to read to all of you is some tips for filling out the roadmap. The first tip is list all of your experience first before putting them down on the roadmap to organize your thoughts. Find someone you feel most comfortable with to fill out the form, a friend, a trusted adult, a therapist, or by yourself. Think outside the box for resources. Therapy is awesome, but so is mural arts, peer mentorship, internships, and pick up basketball. Before having your client fill out this roadmap, be sure to inform them about the safe ways to discuss concerns when describing personal experiences and support they need. Be transparent about the role as a mandated reporter. This tool can help establish a trusting relationship with your client. If used correctly, it can also provide a clear description of what your client knows they need to feel safe and supported. Allow your client to take their time filling out this document. You can offer to have them fill it out on the spot with your support, or you can offer that they fill it out at a location that they most feel comfortable to them. Be sure that each support has someone accountable for administrating that support. Yourself, the foster parent, a family member, the attorney, a school support, a counselor, and etc. Ms. Marcia, would you like to continue?
Yep, thank you. So at the bottom, we just wanted to briefly highlight another direction for system professionals working with young people in the justice system is that we included an example of, actually folks can use it. It's a confidentiality agreement that states that would allow folks working with youth who are in the justice system to sign, and those system professionals, that if young people identify critical things that could be in part relevant to their case, that it won't be used against their case while their case is open. We thought this was really important because sometimes young people identify specific challenges or needs that they have in both of these systems, that they need to be connected to additional resources, but again, might be tied to their open case. And so we thought it was really important to make sure that if youth are willing to be even more vulnerable and identify the challenges that might be related to their open case, because they're asking for your help, that those things won't be used against them in their specific court case. And again, we have the example of a confidentiality agreement that we have included in the report. So please take a look at the report to see that.
All right, now I believe we'll be switching over to Dwayne again.
Ishale is going to read some of the
Ishale,
tips first
okay.
for professionals. Thanks, sweetie.
Sorry, Ash.
Okay, yes. So we have some tips for professionals when helping the youth when completing their roadmaps, and do not use this tool during the first interaction you have with your client. Continue to remind your client that they do not need to share experience they are not willing or ready to talk about. Listen to your client. Hear what they know they need. If your client is struggling to identify the types of support they need, offer options and examples that are diverse and inclusive. Think outside the box for resources. Therapy is awesome, but it's so mural painting, peer mentorship, internships, and pickup basketball.
Thanks, Ash. Okay, so now I'm gonna check the chat briefly just to see if folks put in any questions or thoughts. Speedy, lots of praise for you. And so then we kind of want to get into a discussion with our young people about their perspectives on completing the roadmap tool. So for those of you who feel comfortable, and actually just a little bit of context for the folks who are listening in. So originally this tool that we did was just a curriculum that our staff came up with to try to further engage our young people in a creative way about thinking about what are the intervention points or resources that they felt they needed. So originally it was literally just an activity that staff came up with, but then our young people really liked it and actually just revamped it and changed it and made it obviously so much more better to work with young people who are in the system. So if you guys feel comfortable, can you just share overall like your thoughts about completing the roadmap and maybe identifying moments in your story where you felt like there could have been a specific intervention or someone who might have been able to help you better if you were offered that in your own stories?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. As I was completing my roadmap, I felt a lot of satisfaction knowing that a plan is made to help identify and resolve a lot of issues. I have a bunch of helpful intervention points, but there was one that sticks out to me and I would like to share it. I wish I had a better support system, one person or many people who could relate to me in my situation. Many people judged me for having behavior problems. I wanted someone who would always defend me, always the beater for me, and to understand where I'm coming from.
Thanks.
Anybody else would like to go? Thank you, Ms. Marcia.
Right. Thank you, Dwayne. Well, for me, I first was in a group home, and this group home, they they decided that medication at a very young age and unnecessary means of consequence is how I'm gonna describe it, was quite often in a lot of simple situations in that group home. And I think what could have just simply helped with a lot of the things that was going on in that group home, along with how I felt and how my behavior was because of how I felt, was that they could have just simply gave me like some more therapy, sat down and talked to me, maybe explain the situation a little better to me. They could have also let me get visitation, because when I first got there, for a while I actually was not allowed to have any visitation from anyone, like not even a worker, which honestly is not okay. So yeah, that's my part. Ash, would you have anything to share?
Thanks, Speedy.
So we going off of what's on the screen.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so well, I felt a little like relieved when completing the roadmap tool, and I felt like that because I got to pinpoint like what happened and like what happened and then what could have happened, which I think would be like good for like other youth if they was to read what I went through and see what had happened, or other people that's over me. And well, I think I feel like more people in my corner would have supported me more at that time, because like people that advocate for me now and all that would have been helpful then when I like really, really needed it.
Thanks, Ash. Mark, do you want to answer this question too?
I'm gonna pass.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Somebody said, thank you guys for sharing your stories. It's really helpful. I think one thing that's helpful for us to just thinking about when we did the activity from you guys as like a social worker or program manager, like Ashlee said, I think it was really helpful to think about like ways that make young people feel comfortable to be like active in their case planning. Because like Ashlee said, like it also gives them an opportunity, I think, to think differently about their situation. Like Cathy and I really try really hard to not have the onus be on young people, regardless of what role they play in their story being tied into these systems, but that as a child, as a youth, as a young person, that there's a lot more responsibility that should be on the people in their lives. To make different choices, have different opportunities, referrals, resources, and just thinking about like all the things that impact youth choices that they make at that time and all these other things. So I think for us, it was like really eye-opening just to see like, here's an opportunity that our young people are saying that they helps them feel comfortable and be creative, to actually really feel like they're contributing to a different thought process about their stories. And so I feel like that was like really powerful and helpful for me as an individual who works with young people who has lived experience in these systems. Okay. Well, thank you guys. So the next part of our presentation really is we have a lot of questions for the professionals on the call or individuals who work with youth. I'm going to keep the questions on the screen, and then we can ask the first question that someone shared first, though, and then I'll put them in the chat also for people to answer. But I'm going to, somebody just posed a question to you guys, so I'm going to ask their question if that's okay for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, awesome. So someone from Legal Service Center said they really appreciate you guys sharing your stories. They're curious whether our state provides guardian ad litem or attorney ad litem, and if you felt this person advocated for you or not. If not, what they could have done differently. I do think Pennsylvania, I could be wrong, one of our attorneys, if you want to take this, let me know. But I think it depends on your county also and how you get assigned different attorneys. Because I feel like a lot of youth in Philadelphia do not have guardian ad litems. They are assigned like public defenders or sometimes private lawyers. But if anyone wants to talk about their relationship with their attorneys and things they could have done differently or how things have gone well, you should feel free to answer that.
Oh, for sure. Well, I had multiple attorneys. They changed very often for me. So I never really built a relationship with like most of my workers because of this. But I think what honestly could have been done differently is like just keeping one person or maybe two people on my case, because that can help a lot with building a relationship with a client, and understanding their situation better to help their needs. Also, attorney, um, I don't know, my attorney never really like sat down and actually talked to me unless it was the day of court, and they were just like constantly whisper to me, on the side if I was attending court, or they would speak on my behalf without speaking to me first. So I think the biggest thing for like attorneys and stuff, if you guys are going to represent people, try to get our input or at least have us understand what's going on around us, because it's a scary process what we're going through. So we need to know. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, I can share. Well, thanks, Speedy, for talking about that. Uh, in the beginning, for me, when I first entered into foster care, I had an attorney or a child advocate. It was very quick. I didn't really get to know her as well, and there really wasn't a relationship between me and her. But then it transitioned to someone else, and for me, I could say that I did have a great relationship with my attorney and all of my child advocates. They, been very supportive with me, and they always been there. And I think that's very important, uh, that you have a good child advocate that's always standing up for you, that talks to you, check up on you without, not the day of court, but throughout your time before the court date, they check up on you. And I that it's very helpful because it did help me in the long run. I mean, I wish that the rest of my supports was like that, but I could definitely say that the child advocates that I always said, they always been supportive to me, and I'm very thankful for that. Anybody else would like to go?
Thank you, guys. And I think Ash, you kind of already shared some of the differences in your current attorneys that you have versus some of your previous attorneys. We had a really deep discussion about this before. Also about attorneys, I feel like that always comes up. I just want to like share something. Oh, you know what? Here's another question. I will share. So someone just said like they really appreciate this and really needed it, especially coming from a predominantly white county that has little resources for young people and juvenile court. And they're the first Black juvenile probation office in their county. So they feel like this webinar is really great. So I think we always appreciate that. And we always talk about like race and all those things. If anyone wants to respond to that, feel free. So this is a question that's tied to the attorney question, y'all. So someone said, did any of you feel empowered to change your child advocate if you did not feel connected or supported by them? I feel like one thing I have learned though, as a social worker, most youth don't know that they can change their child advocate.
Yeah, we're not aware of that like information 90% of the time. So like, all right, when I first was like going to court and stuff, and like my workers, whoever they assigned me, when I say these people literally would just show up on court day and they wouldn't even know who I am. Okay, they wouldn't even have a face to a name, to the point to where they would have to wait until they call my name for court to start and then try to pull me off to the side again, like I was speaking on earlier. Um, there's a lot of information that we're trying to provide youth, that I didn't have growing up in a situation, like being able to switch your worker or being able to even speak during court, and stuff like that. So if anybody else want to speak on that, please feel free to.
Thank you, Speedy. Yeah, for me, I didn't even know I could change my child advocate. I mean, that's something that I don't think they bring up to, youth. They don't bring up that you can change your child advocate if you don't feel comfortable with them. And I think that's the lack of knowledge that they give to youth in placement or youth in foster care, is that if you don't feel comfortable with your case manager or child advocate or whatever support that you have that's involved with you, it's not, they won't tell you, oh, if you want to change it, you don't feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable, you can change it. Or if you need to fill out a grievance, you can do this. And I personally haven't, it hasn't happened with me. Nobody has brought that up to me. And I wish they did, but they haven't, which is, I think that's very important information to tell a youth as immediately as soon as they get in there, as soon as they entered into the child welfare system.
Well, when I was 17 and I had court, my child, the lady that advocate, I didn't know her at all, and I really ain't even see her during court. I didn't even know who she was during court. So I tried to get a change to Penn Law, and they told me I had to wait till I was 18. I'm confused about that.
Thanks, Ash. I think we're often confused about it. Couple other questions for y'all. So a follow-up question to that is the same person who asked that question, y'all. So they said they've had child advocates refuse to speak to them or work with them when a youth has given a written signed request for her to work with them, or for this individual, I'm sorry, to work with them. So their question is, how can they support youth when they see like red flags, maybe in how the way that their attorneys or child advocates are working with them? Like, how can they help encourage or support the youth if they see that the youth might be afraid or unsure about requesting to get a new attorney?
I would say I think it's important to, make sure you feel comfortable, that you feels comfortable with you as the attorney, or as the previous one. Make sure to inform them that, it's all right that if you, don't feel confident with me, that you want to switch over to a new one. Or maybe you can have a conversation, or maybe someone else from the agency can have a conversation with the youth about switching over to a new support, if if they don't want to get, so they don't feel like they're getting in trouble, or that they think that's best for them. Or maybe they can write it down, or I mean, there's like a lot of stuff that they, you can do. Speedy, do you have anything to add to it? Or Mark, or Ashley?
I don't at the moment. Um,
Can I
yeah,
add is it okay if I add, guys?
but of
Yeah,
course,
you can.
Okay. So I think one thing that I feel like I've heard from young people and I've heard from attorneys is a lot of youth don't actually feel like their attorneys are advocating for the things that they want them to advocate for. And in the legal profession, I think there's a real conflict in attorneys who advocate for on behalf of their clients versus what they think is in the best interest of their client. And so I do think that that is a really big conflict. And we've had a lot of conversations in our office about what we think is best. I think I can speak for our office and say, like, we think folks should advocate for what their client wants. We're not big fans of what's in the best interest, so what you think is best for them. So again, I think that's a big problem. And I think too, because there's such a conflict of how young people are treated in the legal system, and that doesn't matter whether it's juvenile court or whether it's family court. And I think especially when you're talking about race, that people don't feel comfortable going to court and they don't feel like attorneys and folks are on their side. A lot of older youth tell us they feel like they're the ones being penalized for being in the system, especially when they're older. And so I think there's a lot of stigma and a lot of changes that we need to do as professionals who are working with you so that they can actually feel like folks have their back and that there will actually be a difference if they request a new attorney. Because I think part of the fear is that one, might feel like they're going to be retaliated against. And two, they might just feel like, well, what's the point of changing? Are you going to be the same way as this attorney? So I think there's a lot of work that we have to do about how young people feel their needs are actually being met by the people they care for. And to Speedy's point, if you only see your client 5 minutes before court, they're not going to feel comfortable requesting a new attorney, because that's kind of the precedent that we've set for a lot of youth. So I just think in terms of the court process, we have a lot of work. And in terms of representation, a lot of work for our kids in both systems.
Yeah, and can I add to that?
Go for it, Mark. Yeah.
And even like in the days and weeks leading up to court, like it would help if you contact them and just be on the same page before y'all even walk in them doors. That way, once you're there, it's a lot easier to, it probably wouldn't even be a problem if you already know what the youth wants before y'all even get to the courthouse. Then, it's easier to.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna add to that as well, Mark. That was a great response. I also think that I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
You want to take a minute, Speedy? We come back to you?
Yes.
Sure. Okay, so there's 2 other questions. So what else would you guys change in the system, whether it's court or foster care agencies, so that way the techniques or strategies that you guys have in the roadmap can actually be like implemented in practice, so that people use it all the time? So Speedy, for example, you talked about making sure there's one person on the case and that they have like the specific information and resources to work with that youth.
Yes, and just understanding everyone's individual needs. Just remember, like, a lot of youth in these situations, we're being pulled from our family members or our friends or loved ones, and we're in a situation where we don't know what's going on. There's a lot of confusion. We are upset because we don't know what's going on. No one would tell us anything. And the simple fact that everyone is just trying to ask so many questions that we can't answer ourselves. So I think understanding that we are traumatized in these situations, patience is what we need. Like, just talk to us like human beings, and I promise you, you will get amazing results. Also, with the multiple attorneys and workers, that can be a big problem, because it's like, I'm not gonna want to talk to anyone if they're just gonna change the person the next court date. I feel as though that my voice won't actually get heard, and it'll just bounce off of different people, and I wouldn't trust anyone to talk to. What I was trying to say earlier actually was, like, I would compare it to like relationships, like bad relationships, I guess. And it's like, if this attorney, I felt as though this attorney didn't want to truly connect with me or didn't really want to help me, when the next person comes, I'm going to assume that person is going to try to do the same thing. So at that point, in the back of my head, I'm going to think to myself, well, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. And that can actually cause a lot more problems in the courtroom, where that's usually when, like, attorneys and lawyers and stuff start speaking for us instead of speaking with us, if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense, Speedy. Thanks. Do you guys want me to read the question one more time for folks who might want to answer it? Or join you at this?
No, I got this. I'll add on to what Speedy was talking about. Thank you, Speedy, for answering that. I do agree with Speedy was saying. It's important to talk to youth as human beings. When it's like when you go into an interview and you ask a whole bunch of questions, the boss asks a whole bunch of questions to the person they're interviewing. Obviously, you're going to feel so much fear and anxiety, and you're going to feel uncomfortable because you don't know what's going to happen next. And it's the same way as if when a youth enters into the system and they have a bunch of random people talking to them, asking them a bunch of questions, and then the way they're talking to them, or maybe the way that they're asking the questions, might make them feel uncomfortable. And that's not the way to, build relationships, or, have the youth feel like that someone is there to help them or protect them. It just makes things all over the place, and it's not really cool. It's not cool at all. It needs to be better, and things need to be a lot better so that when you've entered into the system, it's about them feeling comfortable and them having a whole bunch of supports, and that they know they can rely on someone or a bunch of people to know to get things done, and that that youth voices are being heard enough to where that to where we youth have a voice into speaking up and not being silent.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So I think Speedy and Dwayne answered like 2 questions in one, but it's kind of a large question. So what else would you change in the system is part 1 that Dwayne and Speedy answer. And then part 2 of it is, what are some other techniques and strategies in the roadmap that could be used for regular practice?
I would change like the whole court procedure and when it comes to the system, because the key thing to do is to explain what is going on, because the judge is going to be saying some big words and we all understand or something. So it got to be explained, even if it's written down, we need to be explained. So I feel like the key thing is explaining what's happening during court, and like changing, like I feel like changing it all together. Like I feel like it should be changed, like court all together.
Agreed. Well, and I think some of the stuff we have that you guys put in the roadmap, right? Like, I feel like to all of us, it's like kind of a no-brainer, but I don't think people some people do think about it, and it's not to overly critique my social workers, my caseworkers, and my lawyers, but to Ashalee's point, like, people actually really don't go over stuff with youth in just regular terms. Even as a social worker, if people in other professions use acronyms, I don't know what they mean. I would need them to actually explain to me what it means in their profession. And people will go over paperwork and documents and case planning and like all this stuff using all these terms that nobody understands. And so most of what we say in the roadmap is like, you have to talk to young people this way, like explain this, like explain your role, like map this out kind of in a step-by-step process. Because people don't do that in the beginning, or they do it for like 30 seconds. And that's not even how people retain information, just across the board. It doesn't even matter your age. So I think those are really critical things or techniques that people need to always remember when you're working with any client, and particularly when you're working with children and youth.
Marcia, I also just want to add to that I think one of those like no-brainer type questions is like, what do you want? And how do you expect to get it? Because a lot of the time, I think professionals think that they know the best way to get that service to a young person, but that young person actually has a better idea of how to get it to them. Sorry for my children in the background.
No worries. No, I totally agree. And actually someone said like, you guys know like how to explain what you need, and for sure what Cathy said. So there's another question. Folks asked, are you guys, well, one, I'm going to say it, do you know if you were, because we know sometimes things aren't explained well. Do you know if you were, or were you presented with the Know Your Rights document that you had to sign when you entered into the system?
I didn't even know about that until I started working for the Juvenile Law Center. And that's just my pure honesty.
No.
All right, go ahead.
You go. No, you go, actually.
Oh, well, I still don't know about that. So I doubt I signed it.
No. So that question, are you talking about when you first entered into, the child welfare system, or when you go to like a foster home or a group home or residential?
First enter into the child welfare system.
No, I did not. I didn't even know anything about that. I didn't sign any paid documentations and know my rights. Or, I mean, in foster homes or anything like that, no.
Well, I think we answered that question. Yeah. And there was another really great question that Miss Cathy wanted to pose to you guys, or someone else might have, that I thought was really good. That goes back to you guys completing the roadmap tool, which is just thinking about you got, some of the stuff that you guys put in your roadmap and some of the interventions that you identified. If someone actually implemented the ones that you guys felt were like really important for your story, can you talk about how you feel like that might have had like a drastic impact on your life then and now? And if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to explicitly say, what the moment is in your story or the intervention, but just like how might it have changed the course of how you feel like your life has been shaped since then?
I guess I can go first. Actually, no, what was the first part of it? Because I have thoughts in my mind, but I don't know if I'm answering it correctly. What was the first part of it?
So remember when you guys filled out the roadmap and you identified like, hey, here's something that folks could have done for me. If people did it, how might that have changed your life or your outcome?
It would help me better understand what was going on around me, to be honest. Because when we were doing the roadmaps, I do remember the main suggestion was to start off a list of things, like cause and effect type of things. And I don't know, I felt like just when I was simply doing it, like if I was doing it then versus now, like I don't know, my thought process would have been better. I think that I would have been more prepared to go to court. I would have probably tried to look into more of my rights to try to get that information. Because I will be like, looking at the roadmap, like, okay, well, this happened. This is what I would prefer. I don't know. I would feel more confident in speaking up for myself a little bit. Um, it just helped break down a lot of things, and it's such a simple thing that literally anybody can do it. Is what I believe.
Thanks, Speedy. I really appreciate that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I believe if my suggestions and my interventions that I put on the roadmap were shown to me earlier, like what Speedy said, as when I first entered into foster care, I think it would open up a better understanding of who my supports are and who was there to actually help me and who was there to understand who I am as a person. Uh, because I just think that things could go a lot more smoother with court being in foster home, group home. People could actually, see me as a person. They know I'm not a, the bad kid or a bad guy, and they see my roadmap and they see what's going on. And it's not about like judging you or writing something down on the paper that's not true. I think the roadmap, helps bring a bigger picture and with bringing a lot more understanding with other people and relationships. And that would have helped. I think it would help and help me in the long run a lot better if that was implemented a lot sooner.
Thanks, Dwayne. Sure, Mark, do you want to take this question too?
Well, I remember mine because it was my life. So, I feel like if some of the suggestions, I feel like they would have took. I mean, not like because I ain't give it to them, but you know what I mean. They would have went by. Then I probably would be graduating because I missed a lot of school due to stuff that could have been easily avoided because first offense or like minor stuff. So I probably been already graduated and Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's real. Well, and I think you guys are all bringing up too, right? Like there's all these other consequences that happen, both for why when you're in the system and when people don't actually give you the resources and supports that you all know and feel that you should have. It impacts all these other things like feeling prepared. Speedy said confident. Dwayne talked about like knowing what supports I have and like how I can access them. Ashley's like it impacted my education. Like I could have had supports. I might have graduated on time. So there's all these other collateral consequences and damages that happen when we don't actually connect young people to resources like earlier on or the right ones or the ones that they feel are most needed for them. So another question we got from folks is, would you all feel comfortable, so if you guys completed the roadmap with a professional, like hypothetically, would you all feel comfortable having someone read your roadmap who is different from the person who completed it with you? And then included in that, would you feel comfortable having it in your file so that other caseworkers would also have that information? Or do you feel like it should only really be used by the professional who, I can't remember even in our instructions, used by the professional who asked you to complete it? Should I break that down?
I think everyone should just like, I don't know, I think you guys should always have it prepared on you, but I don't think that it should be shared with anyone unless the youth actually establishes that, okay, I would like this person to know about it. I would like this person to know about it. So I think just telling the youth, well, if you would like to, you also want, explaining what Marcia just explained to us. Would you like to have this information on hand? And I think it's just ask the youth if it's okay, because it's really up to us, and who we trust and who we want to know certain things. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Speedy. I agree with him.
Mm-hmm. Can I just like say one point too, because I feel like y'all, we have a lot of discussions about this. And just to the question, like there's a difference with letting things in a young person's case file inform how you work with them and it lead how you work with them. Those are two very different things. And I feel like youth often talk about, they feel like people read case notes and they just go straight off the case notes and like, that's just how it is. And for me as a social worker, like it would inform me like, oh, okay, hey, they wrote down some of these challenges with the last caseworker. You know what, here's some interventions or resources they said that they needed. I would probably use it as a way to follow up, like, were you connected? Do you still want to be connected to these? Hey, I'm getting your case 6 months later. Would you want to do a new roadmap with me to think about like new resources? So I think that there's definitely a difference in it informing just some of the stuff that young people have identified or the challenges and needs they have versus it leading how you then pursue working with them. So that's just something to think about too.
No, I agree with you, Miss Mercy. I really do. That makes a lot of sense.
Sure. Okay, I want to make sure we have some time. We do have some questions for the audience about, just like what are some of your reactions and thoughts from the tool? And then I think we have identified different challenges or ideas and things about using the tool to connect with youth. I'm kind of skipping around questions here, but can some of you share who work, those of you who work with young people, like ways that you feel like you might be able to use the tool to address some of the barriers and identifying resources for youth? I'll type it in the chat. We'll give people a minute.
Hello?
Mhm.
Are we still on?
We're here just waiting for people to respond. I'm trying to think if I have questions for y'all. Oh, here's the blank roadmap too. Is there anything that y'all feel like y'all want to add that maybe we didn't fully cover on here, or for people to think about using the roadmap? Oh, I have a, you know what, I have a question for y'all too while we wait for people to respond. So just thinking about reentry planning and case planning and transition planning, like how might y'all want people to use this tool for both people in the child welfare, the justice system, like when they're first coming in, when they're doing like exit planning with youth or reentry planning, like what are the benefits do y'all feel of using it in those moments, and like other ways y'all feel like people can use it during like transition planning or case planning and those things?
Is that a question for us, Ms. Mercier?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Just give me like a quick second real quick. Trying to get my thoughts. All right.
Take your time. So just thinking about like permanency meetings, like all the meetings, especially in child welfare, I feel like young people have like your permanency meetings, you have like transition planning meetings, maybe some small case planning meetings about like, what are your goals? You know, court orders, all those things. Would you guys want folks to like use the roadmap tool during or before some of those to help you prepare and think about those? Or like how might it benefit youth for staff to use them during like transition planning or discharge planning for youth in foster care?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's important to use it before. I mean, you could use it at the moment too. But what I think if you use it before, it prepares the youth and whoever they're working with to understand the past history, and then they can work on the present and then set up future goals and uh, supports, and a lot of other things that can help benefit the youth from um, being successful and having a better understanding of what's going on, especially with before court dates or meetings. um, they can understand what the meeting or the purpose of the meeting is about. Discharge plans, I think it helps with a lot of goal creating and setting up supports that they need, or what they might need. I think it also brings a lot of understanding to case managers and child advocates, or whatever supports that the youth have involved. It brings a lot of understanding of these are the things that the youth might want to work on, or things that these are important things that we need to pay attention to. And I think it's about the youth. It's their roadmap. So I think this is definitely an individualized plan right here, the roadmap itself. So I think it is very important for it to be used before or after a meeting or a discharge meeting or court date.
Thanks, Wayne. If other folks want to go, feel free, or I'm happy to like read some of the responses to the question that I put in the chat from people. Should I do that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Awesome. So Aaron said they would love to introduce the tool to the young people they work with. They're not a social worker or a child advocate, but they said their relationships with their clients usually last about 2.5 years. And they do often see like high turnover in social workers and individuals struggling to connect with advocates. And they said during those moments where there's like high turnover or changes in staff, they see a lot of information get lost and youth voice get lost in that. I think we hear that a lot too. And I was about to write you back. We'd love to hear if you introduce the tool with the youth, like, how like reflections and feedback on how you all feel, it's worked for you. And then Pathia wrote that she agreed, that they agree, that each new worker should perform their own assessment, even if some of the challenges and goals are old. And there have been changes that it should reflect on a new assessment. So on a new roadmap, like folks should do a new roadmap and not rely on like old information that youth have, which I think we think is really important too.
Yeah, that's very important. I do like that. I like all of the responses.
And then we think so too. That's why we really like the roadmap. So Pathia also wrote, they agree the roadmap changes the dynamics of a youth just being a client to being a partner and planning in their future. I think that's, not that I can speak for y'all, but I feel like that's why we all like the roadmap so much. It's like, it's really, it makes you all the owners of what's happening. Make sure that you feel you're the owners of what's happening.
Yes, I agree with that. It's accurate information. It's coming from the youth, and that's why I like it. You know, it's not what someone said or what they wrote down. It's actual information. It's coming from personally from the youth, and that shows that it's my permission. I wrote it down. It's not a lie. It's not extra or false information. It's right there. So no one else can say anything wrong about it.
Mhm. Let me see. I keep going back and forth screens. So I guess I know a couple of people wrote this in, but are there other folks who are on the call who feel like your agency would implement the tool? And in what ways do you feel like it would be helpful in further engaging your clients in their case planning?
While people are coming up with answers, the only thing I'll add to that other discussion about quick turnover of attorneys and sharing information, I know it's difficult to share information and to build trust very quickly, but just as an example, in our program, we have master's level interns, graduate interns work with us every year, and it is difficult when we have the turnover, but we always encourage them to do kind of continuous outreach via text, via social media as soon as they start. And they actually are able to form pretty strong relationships with our members within like a month or a month and a half. So it's not impossible to do that even with high turnover.
Kathy, I agree. Well, and I think just to add on Kathy's point, we also do work to make sure that folks know when our interns are leaving. Like, I feel like it's still a hard process, but like our youth know. We talk about when they're getting ready, our interns are getting ready to transition out. Our interns talk to them in advance. We celebrate the work that they've done transitioning out. Like we continue to hold space and make sure it's not like an afterthought and at the last minute everyone finds out like a week before. Like, that's not how things should go. Like, if people know that they're getting ready to transition out, or even if it is last minute, like, I don't think people always recognize that like the healing that has to happen and conversations that has to happen if folks are constantly transitioning out. One, it's like being respectful of their youth because they're working with so many people all the time. Like, there needs to be like some type of debriefing or conversation or check-in about all the turnover, because it is hard to, one, have so many people on your case, and two, have so many people leave. It's all at the same time. And so I think people need to like make sure that they're actually having debrief discussions, having your staff have debrief discussions with their clients or their young people when these things are happening. There are a couple responses. So Someone wrote that they're a retired mental health advocate and they do have a grandchild in foster care, and they think that their agency and central PA should use this tool. We're happy to advocate for that. And then someone else wrote that they think that our agency could implement it and it would be helpful for ensuring that youth voice could be included in case management. Pathia also wrote, it's so important that our youth voices be heard, that they see that we're listening. We as adults have to stop making choices and decisions for them and believing that we know what's best and instead include them in the process. If folks have reactions, go for it, Dwayne.
Yeah, no, I agree with. Thank you. I agree with Padilla for mentioning that. That's very important. It's not to single out the youth, but it always should be they should always be included in whatever discussion or topic that's related to them. It's their life, the youth's life is their decision. They should make a decision. They should be able to hear what's going on instead of, being surprised about whatever the decision that is being made for them. And it's like I said earlier, it's very bad to silent the youth's voice, to make them silent and make them feel like they have no say so and whatever about themselves. I'm pretty sure that the youth gets tired of that, and it makes them feel, like no one is there to support them, or no one really cares about them because everybody is making decisions and that they believe is best for them. But the youth might not feel the same way about that. They might feel otherwise. And I think it's, like I said, it's very important for your voice to be heard.
Absolutely. Well, and I think one of our members on the last conversation about like youth voice had talked about that, their attorney or their caseworker wouldn't like share things or include them in the process because they felt like it was like too hard for them. And the youth was like, I actually know like what happened in my case. I know why. I know some of why I'm here. Like I've experienced things that like you've never experienced, but you are making a decision to not actively include me in my case when like I'm the one like living my life. And so I feel like that is, really relevant and really important.
Yeah, and then, the youth feels clueless about what's going on with their case. Like you said, if they feel clueless about it. They don't know what's going on. And then next minute, a whole bunch of questions have to be asked. And then the case manager, the child advocate, or whatever support they have doesn't want to really give them an accurate answer. And it feels like nothing is being done, or nobody is actually working on or working with them to make changes.
I agree, Dwayne. Thank you. And Emma shared a really nice comment. They also feel like it's important as knowledge gatekeepers to continuously and generously share your knowledge and information to bring them into the process. So we appreciate that.
Yes.
Oh yeah, go for it, Dwayne.
I was saying thank you, Emma. That's
Do folks have other last thoughts or things that you want to share out? Maybe, and I know we have a few more minutes, but maybe like what you really hope people get from this like final session. Since this is our last kind of in our 3-part series and we end it with the tool very intentionally. If folks just want to share out like what you really hope people get from like the full series and then from the conversation about the tool.
Yeah, I'll share. I just want to say thank you everyone for, being here, being part of the series. The roadmap is a great thing, and I'm glad that me and, my team that I work with, we came up with the roadmap, and we would love and hopefully that everyone, if they can use it, and if they can bring it to their youths or use it with their agencies, it would definitely be great. Because this is something that it brings a change with the youth and with the agency. This helps lots of youth out there in the child welfare system have a voice, it makes them put down what they feel what's best for them, what they feel most comfortable. It brings a lot of knowledge to case managers and social workers or child advocates or whatever supports and about the youth themselves. And to use a tool like this, it's a game changer right here. This is something that really can make history, make things a lot more easier with youth and them entering into the child welfare system itself. And like I said, this helps set up so many goals. This can help set up so many goals and uh, plans, support plans that can, help benefit the youth themselves and make changes with how things are run with a lot of agencies. So if you can use this, it would definitely be great.
Thanks, Dwayne. Ashley, Speedy, Mark.
I will not be sharing.
Any last thoughts on what you hope people get from the full series and the conversation today about the tool?
Well, I hope people take it in and try to get it out and share it to other people to at least try to take that step into making a change. Yeah.
Can you say that again, Miss Mercy? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Oh, I was just asking if Speedy or Mark wanted to respond to what you and Ashley responded to as well.
Oh, yeah, can I add something?
Yeah, good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Also, one thing that I hope everyone takes out from this, I'm pretty sure you guys already do, but it's important to understand that mental health is a very, important and serious thing for anyone, just like, any person or human being. And it should be like a number one priority for all youth in the child welfare system. Just as what Speedy said earlier, he was saying that, people, you've come into the child welfare system with some sort of trauma or bad experience. And it's important to understand that, that youth need mental health services to get through whatever the bad experience or to get through it, to feel like that they have supports and to feel like that there's people there to support them and that they know that, oh, I can get help, or the youth knows that there's going to be someone there to listen to me through the hard times that I'm going through. And it's not good to neglect mental health services for no youth. No, all youth should have it. It should be accessible one way or another immediately. No waiting, none of that. It's just important for them to, understand that people are there to help them and that no one feels left out.
Great. Your thoughts? Folks are saying they are planning to use the tool, taking it back to their organizations. They want to share the tool. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they want to share it out to different counties or different agencies. Aaron shared they're excited to share the recordings with coworkers. Thank you. Everyone said it's been really informative and you guys did a great job.
Well, thank
and
you, everyone.
Aaron, I think we are happy to partner with you in any way, as and finding better ways to amplify other young people's voices too. So please reach out to us. We'd love to connect with you. And I think my hope as working with y'all that people know and see the value, and that, I feel like we say it all the time and because we just believe in it, but young people know what's best for their lives. And, who are we to come in and say what's best and not collaborate and work directly with them? to plan out all the things that are going to happen to them, right? Like we don't have to live all these things. So I just hope people know the value of these tools and the expertise that our young leaders have done to work on these tools to, you know, drastically change outcomes, not just for themselves. You know, I want to lift up, and Miss Cathy lifts this up all the time, like a lot of our young people are sharing things that they wish could have happened a long time ago in their stories. You know, so that it haven't happened, or, you know, there's been a lot of missed opportunities. So if you guys are just starting with clients, or you still have clients, like you have so many opportunities to use these tools as a way so that your young people don't come back and say, well, I wish people would have did this when they had my case. So I hope people take away that there's, you know, still opportunities and time to work with them better.
You said it well, Miss Marcia. You said it well.
Absolutely. Folks are just saying thank you. And again, I think reach out to us, myself, Cathy, our team. We're happy to set up other meetings if folks want to do further discussions with our leaders, our young leaders, about these tools and the work that they're going to continue to do over the course of the year. So we appreciate you all.